guys, it's Destiny. I am back with another video. So I wanted to talk to you guys today about sales tax. And I know it's one of those things that you really have heard of. You may not know if you should be charging it. It's like, should you be charging sales tax? Are you selling things that have sales tax on them? Who do you pay? How do you calculate it? How much money is it costing you? We're going through all of that today. So today I did something a little different. I actually, I'm going to do a screen share and I'm going to do a PowerPoint presentation so you can kind of see and I walk you along as we go. So if that sounds good, I will go ahead and start and we're going to just take it from here. All right. So as you can see, this PowerPoint is about how to decrease your sales tax by hundreds, if not thousands, by setting up your systems correctly. So let's start with, what is sales tax? So sales tax is a set rate by your state Department of Revenue that charges on product, meaning something that you can hold in your hand. It's actually tangible. Now, this is going to be if you are a lash artist and say you sell lashes on the side, or say you are a hairstylist and you sell hair or wigs. This is something tangible that you should be charging tax on. The reason you should be charging tax is because you're going to have to pay the tax in the end. There are only 5 states who don't have any sales tax at the moment, and that is New Hampshire, Oregon, Montana, Alaska, and Delaware. Next, who has to pay sales tax? So any seller who has nexus in a state means they have to collect sales tax. A lot of you are probably like, you know, what's nexus? And nexus is basically you have a physical presence within the state, and you have so like if you have a home office, if you have a warehouse, anything like that, a physical location, then you have nexus in that state. So for me, I would have nexus in the state of Florida. If you live in Georgia, you have nexus in the state of Georgia. How much is sales tax? Sales tax it all depends on where you're located, which we just went over. That's your nexus, and also where your customer is actually located. So say your customer is located in, I don't know, we'll say Texas. Texas doesn't have yes, they do have a state sales tax, but it breaks it down to, do they live inside the county limits? Do they live inside the city limits? Because every jurisdiction has their own percentage of sales tax. There are over 10,000 tax jurisdictions within the United States, and it's impossible for you to know each and every one of them, especially if you're rapidly a producing product. So it's good that you have a payment processor that you can go and depend on to calculate that for you. So most of you guys are using something like Shopify, PayPal, QuickBooks, Stripe, something, your payment processor. And this is off subject, but I do want to touch on merchant accounts. So this is why things like Cash App, that's not a merchant account. It's not going to figure out your sales tax. It's not going to do any of those things for you. Meaning you're going to be held liable for that sales tax, and you can't make the customer pay upfront for these type of situations. So I want you to do something. I want you to look at a receipt or think about a receipt that you've gotten. I don't know if you looked recently, but there's like 3 different taxes at the bottom of your sales sheet at least, or more. So you have your state tax, then you have your city tax, and then you may have a county tax, and the taxes just keep on going. And then you have this grand total at the bottom, which is what we actually pay. This is what you need to be doing. As a business, you have to operate like a big box store. This is how they survive for millions of years. So you have to be charging your customer sales tax in order for you not to be responsible for it at the end of the day. So for example, let's see here. We're just going to pretend like we are shipping to a customer in Atlanta. And Atlanta has I'm looking at my notes here. It has a 4% sales tax. That's the state tax. And then you have a county tax, which is 3%. And then the city of Atlanta has an additional 1.9%. So if your customer lives inside of Atlanta, the total amount of sales tax would be 8.9%. If your customer lives on the outside city limits, the total tax will only be 7%. So as you can see, this can become a very tedious process, and you need to be able to get it right. Because like I said, if you are functioning and operating as a business registered, you're going to be responsible for all of this. Okay, so my next question is, I want to know, and comment below, who's actually set up their sales tax. And if you haven't set up your sales tax, at least are you using a processor? I want you to also tell me your payment processor. Comment below that information for me. Okay, so how to avoid paying your customer's portion of sales tax. It's quite simple. And before we go there, I want to talk about how this can impact you on a number standpoint. Say you're selling $1,000 worth of product a month. $1,000 times 12 is $12,000. If you are, so we'll just take the last example, $12,000, let's see here, $12,000 times 8.9% is $1,068. Now, that $1,068 is what you're going to have to pay out of pocket because you didn't charge it on top. These are things that when you file your state income tax, you have to pay. So I encourage you to make sure that you're actually charging sales tax, because otherwise you have now worked 1 month, because essentially you're getting $1,000 a month that you weren't getting paid. You just worked for free because you didn't pass that amount. You didn't pass that to your customers. So unless you're trying to be very generous to your customers and you're not in business to make a profit, then I suggest that you go ahead and make sure that everything is set up. Now we'll go over the steps. So these are the following steps. You want to determine where you have a sales nexus. I've already gone over that. I want you to tell me where you're located, so that lets me know that you've thought about it. Second, you have to verify if your projects are subject to sales tax. Now, this is where it gets a little bit tricky. If you are selling a product, so in hairstylists, a lot of times you guys get discounts to certain shampoos or products. Now, you sell that to us at a markup rate. If you're selling us a product, that means that you should be charging us sales tax. We do not have to pay sales tax, at least in Florida, on the actual hair service, so we don't have to pay for the trim or the cut or whatever. But we will have to pay for the actual tax on the product, and then you need to make sure that you have that set up. But it's not always cut and dry. There are online courses that in the state of Florida, you don't need it, but in other states, it is something you have to tax. So that's something that you need to look into. You have to get legal by registering for a sales tax permit. Usually that's done by the city. You also have to make sure that you're setting up your sales tax collection within your own merchant processing payment center. So, and what I mean is that you need to go in there and actually set up your nexus, your state sales tax, and make sure that you're actually clicking the button so it collects sales tax, because it can only do what you tell it to do. Otherwise, it doesn't know. Next, you have to report how much sales tax you collected. So once you actually have all the sales tax dollars in this amount, the system will spit out, you've collected this much, this much, this much. This has to go in then into a bookkeeping software, so you know how much you need to pay each entity. How much do you need to pay Atlanta? How much do you need to pay Fulton County? How much do you need to pay the state of Georgia? If you don't have these processes already in place, more than likely you're not going to do it, because no one's going to sit down on paper and do all this. So what the state or the county or the city will do is they will do it, and they're going to send you a bill. So get ahead of the ball and make sure that you have this set up and integrated with your bookkeeping systems. If you don't have a bookkeeping system, that's fine. Don't wait. Just wait to the end and I'll tell you how I can help you. And then you have to file your sales tax return. So this is separate from your income tax. This is a completely separate process. But if you have all your systems in place, it's really easy. It's just like running a report and mailing off a check. So I know I threw a whole bunch of information at you very quickly, but I want to know if this is something that you guys are thinking about. Give me a heart if this is all new information and you didn't know that you were supposed to be collecting sales tax and no one's ever gone over this with you and you're just completely lost. Make sure you heart this video. Now, I can help get all these set up. So all those steps from the previous slide, this show, I can do all that for you. I am actually taking strategy sessions to set up your QuickBooks. And with that, it's included your online shopping cart setup, and also making sure that all the services that you're selling are input into your QuickBooks. So if you're interested, you can click the link below and book a strategy session, and I'll go over all that with you. This is a one-time fee. It's not something that's billed monthly unless that's something you want me to do for you. But this particular item that I'm offering is only one time. So if you start selling products and or services online, and you don't have your QuickBooks set up and you need some help, or you have them set up and you're just not sure if you're doing it right, click below and give me a free strategy session, and we can get started on that. So that's all I have for today. If you have something that you want me to talk about next week, I'm going to be doing these Money Mondays weekly basis. So just let me know. That's all for now. Bye, guys.